after my last video ranting about 5 things I don't like about the headphone hobby, someone suggested I make an opposite video, 5 things I do like. But instead I'm going to make a video about 5 things that are important if you're getting into the headphone hobby instead. So here are, well, more or less 5, well, one is split into 2, but we'll just kind of ignore that. More or less 5 things that are important if you are getting into the headphone hobby. Number 1, the headphones. I mean, that's kind of obvious. That's the most critical thing about how you'll enjoy music, is everyone enjoys different kinds of music, and headphones vary in how they sound and how they interact with your ear. And whether you're buying headphones or earphones or earbuds or whatever you're getting, those are going to be the most critical to your listening. Are they going to suit it to the music you like? For example, I listen to, say, more acoustic music, say classical jazz and acoustic singers and other stuff like that. Whereas if some people are listening to, say, hip-hop, rap, or metal, which I don't listen to so much, they might have different tastes and what headphones suit them best. So that's the first thing to consider. The other thing is usage case scenario. Are you going to be using headphones on the go? Are you going to be using headphones inside? How are you going to intend to use them? For example, these are a very popular pair of, kind of high-end, I suppose basic entry-level high-end headphones. They're really great, around $200. They used to be, the original model they're based on was about $400 or $500 in kinds of price. They've been around for a very long time and they're very excellent sounding, but they have an open back, as you can see here. You can see the driver in there just about. And when you put them on and listen to music, everyone around you will hear what you're listening to. So if you're considering buying a pair of headphones to wear at work where there are a lot of people around, or using the library or that kind of thing, or a noisy environment, these are not going to be any good. So you have to consider maybe a pair of closed back or noise cancelling headphones. Likewise, out and about, I used to try and use a lot of high-end in-ear monitors when I was traveling on a plane, with, say, maybe a nice portable player such as this one I'm going to be reviewing soon. And I found that the background noise from the airplane was just interfered way too much with the in-ear monitors to get good sound. So in the end, I just used a pair of noise cancelling headphones such as the ones behind me. Wireless noise cancelling headphones these days are so good that for a lot of people, if you have, say, $350 you could just buy a pair of those and be done, and you don't have to worry about all the other bits and pieces, amplifiers, digital conversion, blah 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 blah. You don't have to worry about all that kind of stuff. Just use it with your smartphone. And that comes to the next thing. Other than the headphones, there are going to be 2 other components involved in a headphone system. And whether they're inside your headphones or separate components, it doesn't matter, they're going to be there. The first is amplification. An amplifier takes the signal which makes up the sound and powers the drivers inside the headphones to produce a sound wave that hits your ears and just like a pair of speakers. And that's going to be critical to how good the sound is that comes out. The second is almost certainly the music you're going to be listening to is in a digital format, whether you're streaming it, whether it's on your computer, on a CD, or whatever. That's all in a digital format, and you will need something to convert that digital music into an analog signal to be amplified to come out, the drivers and go into your ears. So headphones, amplifier, digital to analog converter, or DAC as we say in shorthand. Those 3 things are going to be in your headphone system. Again, they could be in your headphones, such as the wireless noise cancelling headphones, which are sitting right behind me, or they could be separate boxes. We have I have a big amplifier here, I have a big digital analog converter here, and I have a separate pair of headphones which I listen to here. So in whatever format they're going to be, they are going to exist, combined or separate. So more or less in the hobby, the more combined they are, the more compromises there, the lower the sound quality, and the more separate, generally the higher the sound quality and kind of the better the sound you can potentially get. That being said, you can get very good gear these days. As I said, you can get wireless noise cancelling headphones, which are great, like the ones behind me, and many other models which sound really fantastic. As I said, you can spend $350 on a pair of wireless noise cancelling headphones, or less or more. I have 100. The pairs behind me range from $169 to I think to about $400, and you could just be done and just be happy listening there. But if you want to get into kind of the high, better quality music and hear more of the nuances of what's going on in the recordings, that's when you get into higher end systems and you start getting into separate components. That being said, you don't have to spend a lot of money these days to get really good listening. So back when I started, about 13 years ago, a pair of $200 headphones were absolutely awful and sounded like rubbish. but you had to spend, $500-600 at least before things started getting good. I mean, the original model these are based on were kind of $430 odd. I suppose there was a model, other model, $330. You had to start getting into the serious money, and then you had to spend on extra components to get good sound. Nowadays, there are components sitting around the $99 mark, such as one I've got an amp sitting down here. And then combined with a couple of other components, you can get a good system with some good headphones for around, so $99 $99 amp, $99 DAC, and let's say a pair of $200 headphones. Well, that's $400, and you've got a pretty kick-ass system already. So the nice thing these days is you have a large variety of options available to you that will give you basically decent sound. That's not to say the expensive stuff isn't going to sound necessarily better, but again, that's something I'm going to talk about in one of the next points. And the next point is, what music do you listen to and how loud do you listen? So, for example, as I said, I listen to a lot of more kind of acoustic music, classical jazz, maybe vocal, and various different bands. And, sometimes I dip back into the good old rock, but I don't listen to, say, rap. I don't listen to hip hop, R&B generally. And so that's kind of critical for me. I'm more interested in how good the mid-range sounds, like the instrument sound, how precise the kind of high frequency sounds, the treble, the precision of that. And if a pair of headphones designed for modern music, which is a bit kind of darker sounding or more bass sounding, can be kind of not my kind of thing. Whereas people just might listen to hip hop, rap, and might like that kind of more bass thumpy sound. Whereas for me, kind of precision is more important. So where the one great piece of advice I saw online that someone gave is that they found people who listened to the same music they did and found out what gear they liked and then bought the same kind of gear, and that they got the best results from that. And that's very true, especially with headphones, as they all do sound a little bit different. They all do have different aims, and everyone's ears are a little bit different. Finding a pair of good headphones which match that is really important. Now, in that, as well as what music you like, how loud do you listen? Now, I've got to advise first up, listening really loud is not good for your ears. And I've had people say, when I've mentioned this on videos many times, and I've had people say in the comments, I wish you told me this before I went to a loud rock concert and wrecked my hearing. So that being said, sometimes we like to turn it up a little bit, but if you buy higher quality stuff, you don't need to turn it up loud to get really good and enjoyable sound. For example, these high-end headphones, they may cost thousands of dollars, but I can listen to them at quiet levels and get a really enjoyable listen because of the precision they can deliver. The tiny sounds come through even at quieter volumes. Now, I should talk about volume a little bit because this is where how loud you listen comes in. Now, the decibel scale, which we use to scale how loud something is not a linear scale. It's an exponential scale, maybe logarithmic scale, I suppose. The scale, for example, a whisper is about 30 decibels, a conversation is about 60 decibels, and you start to get into loud sounds around 90 decibels, and something like a jackhammer was 120. I think it was a kid screaming, could scream up to 120 decibels, and a plane taking off at close range is like 130 or something like that. Your jet engine at close range, I think it was, and the loudest rock concert ever was a Kiss concert at 130 decibels. Now, 30 decibels is instant hearing damage. You are not going to recover from it, and you cannot recover your hearing. At around 90 decibels, you have about 30 minutes before you start damaging your hearing, and your ears will actually start to shut down at higher decibel levels. So even if you listen loud, your ears will automatically shut down, and you'll try and listen louder, but you won't actually get louder. Now, listening loud, as I said, is bad, but the thing about the scale for decibels is going every 6 decibels louder is actually twice the sound pressure level. You actually get it twice as loud. So let's say I go from listening at 70 decibels, which is a quieter listening level, and I decide to turn up the volume, and I'm getting an average of about 90 decibels. Well, that's actually 10 times louder. So going from 70 to 90, or 80 to 100, or 60 to 80, every 20 decibels is roughly about 10 times louder than what you were listening to before. Now, the thing is, if you put earphones in your ears or headphones on your head, it's much easier to get to a louder level because the drivers are much closer to your ears. So as an experiment one time, I listened at 80 decibels through headphones, which might be a normal listening level for me. And I measured that listening level with the headphones first, and then I listened. And then I tried turning my speakers up till I got 80 decibels at my sitting position, and it was shaking the house. Even at 80 decibels, I could feel the bass coming through the floor. And 90, I wouldn't even bother. It just seemed so loud to me. But this was my normal headphone listening level. something that I would consider loud enough or even too loud at a speaker listening level, because I don't listen that loud. So it's very easy to get into hearing damaging level if you're not careful. That's something to consider. But now, why is it critical when you're getting into the hobby? Well, the thing is, because the sound jumps, twice the amount of loudness at every 6 decibels, so do the electrical requirements for something amplifying your headphones require a greater amount of power as you go up in sound level. So, for example, I have a headphone power calculator on my website. You can plug in the parameters of a pair of headphones and then experiment with the maximum loudness that you want. If you go from, say, 90 decibels, try going from 80 to 90 to 100 to 110, you'll find that the power requirements for a pair of headphones go shooting up as you go up. They go into maybe tens of milliwatts up to watts. The amount of power that you require shoots up greatly, and so the requirements on the amplification shoot up greatly. Now, that's why you end up having very big amplifiers such as this, and how much difference they make once you start turning the volume up versus these little, $99 amplifiers, which when you turn the volume up, well, they just sound like they're getting loud, but everything kind of starts to blur together or doesn't become so clear. When you're with the big amplifiers, when you turn them up, and that's why you have these big things with lots of tubes and big transformers in them, is that they maintain like the clarity of the music even as the volume goes up, or even have peaks in the music where there's, say, like you're listening to an orchestral movement and then all the cymbals clash and the drums hit. When that comes in, that's where the more expensive amplification comes in and proves its worth. So especially if you're listening to something big and dramatic, very fast music, high quality, high paced music, big orchestral works, or even just fast, some very fast Latin jazz, or even some just, maybe a lot of people listen to metal, really like very fast metal music, really like stuff that keeps its composure when you're listening at a bit of an elevated volume and listening to something that's very fast, and the electronics can keep up with the driver, which it has to keep control of and move at extremely high speeds. So those two things, music and how loud you listen. Now, another important one, which I'll finish on, which connects with my video before of 5 things I don't like in the hobby, is that this is really important to consider. You are listening for your enjoyment, not anybody else's. Now, there are a lot of people online with various agendas that want to either push things forward because maybe not so much because they're not so much you have issues. People say, oh, this person's shilling for that company. Maybe not in the Western world so much, but more because people get excited and hyped up about products and they get very attached to them. People get very attached to ideas and want to follow along, be a fan of stuff, and people get very hooked on that and very kind of defensive when there's criticism of it. Now, remember that, again, a lot of people really like these headphones, and I've seen some people out there say, oh, you only need to buy a pair of these, you don't need to buy more expensive headphones, blah, 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 blah. But that may be their opinion for their needs, but your needs may be different. There's no point in buying a hyped up pair, there's no point in buying a pair of hyped up headphones like these if your usage scenario doesn't match what they're suitable for. And again, these are open backed, they're great inside a quiet room where sound leakage isn't an issue, but out and about they're not very good. So you have to consider what you need and what you're interested in, and your interests may be different from mine. The music you listen to may be different. You may want some kind of some people are very focused on having some kind of measurable quality to something. Some people just don't care. Some people may want just pure audible enjoyment, and they may not care about kind of a technical accuracy. There's a lot of factors out there, and a lot of people are working to their own agenda, and they in an attachment to ideas, products, companies, whatever. And you have to consider that when you're looking at what people say. If you find people are going kind of overboard in one way or the other, especially when they go in criticism, trashing products left, right, and center, you might want to stay away from that and just focus on the stuff that fits your needs especially. So that's my 5 suggestions. If you are getting into the headphone hobby, consider what you need and what you're interested in. And again, like when you're looking for a reviewer too, you know what my interests are. If my interests match what you're interested in, then watch my reviews. If you have someone else out there, other people out there who listen to different kinds of music to what I do and may match your interests better, follow those reviews and get ideas from them about what they think is maybe good or bad. And if you buy something and you find that a person's opinion has matched your own impressions, then that's good. And if not, just go find someone who gives you the kind of advice that you need to help you along in the hobby. And for other products in there, people worry about, oh, do I need to care about high res? Do I need to care about cables? Do I need to care about this? The other stuff is kind of really icing on the cake for people to get deeper into the hobby. All that stuff for people like me who have all this stuff floating around, they're not going to care about those fine details. But for starters, you only need to care about the headphones, and then from there the amplification and the digital conversion. And whether you want to just stay simple, like the headphones directly behind me, or get complex like all the stuff sitting here, that's the only place where you need to, where things get more complex and more considerations must be made. But anything else, cables, music types, high res, balance, single-ended, all that kind of stuff, don't worry about it too much. All that kind of stuff isn't going to really make a significant difference, especially if you're getting in the low end of the hobby, especially down here into the $100 or $200 end of components kind of thing. Don't worry about the fine details too much. If you can hook it all up, that's really what you really need to be able to do. So I hope that was a little bit helpful. If you have any questions, comments, or constructive criticism, check them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and also hit that little bell next to it to be notified when I have a video online, as well as just reviewing a product. Even if the product is not interesting to you, I do try and talk a little bit about the technicalities of stuff so you get some ideas that might help you out when buying products in the future. So do hit both the like, subscribe, and the bell button to be notified when I have another review out. Do note that these videos are supported by people such as the names you see online. Those people, in exchange for helping me out, sending me a couple of bucks a month, get my buying advice, which could save, well, heck, a lot more than a couple of dollars a month. And a lot of people just sign up and immediately ask me questions about their getting buying advice about the stuff they need to buy. That's great. If I can help people out buy the stuff they need to get a satisfying listen from their headphones or their headphone system, that's really fantastic. And I'm glad to be able to do it. And if you help me, I'll help you. That's the best way for things to work out. As always, thanks once again for watching, and I'll see you online.